All right, the best thing to talk about on Saturday nights are long snapper contracts. And I'm not kidding. This is the best thing to talk about for the 49ers right now. Taybor Pepper, the beloved long snapper, has re-signed with the 49ers, as announced by Taybor Pepper himself. $1.5 million guaranteed for Taybor Pepper. We look at his previous contract with the 49ers signed a couple years ago, $220,000 guaranteed. And I have to say that from 1.5 million or from 220,000 to 1.5 million, Taybor Pepper hit this button. He hit the upgrade button with his contract. Let's look at some perspective here with this deal, and then let's look at the 49ers salary cap implications. The third highest amount of guaranteed money amongst all long snappers for Taybor Pepper. We could see here on Over the Cap where he stacks up against everybody else. Number one is Charlie Hewlett of the Browns. Number two is Josh Harris of the Chargers. Hewlett is 1.95 million of guaranteed money. Harris 1.92 million of guaranteed money. Taybor Pepper is going to slot in there at number three. We don't have the final details of his deal yet, but we do know that it is 1.5 million in guaranteed money for Taybor Pepper. Is that a lot? Maybe, but the kicking battery is vital to get right. Pepper is going to be snapping. Mitch Wishnowsky is going to be holding. And I think the 49ers want Robbie Gould to be kicking. That's the next domino, right? They've re-signed Wishnowsky at the start of this past season. They've re-signed Taybor Pepper now. And I think you want Robbie Gould back as well because he's the only kicker in NFL history to have made 29 of 29 kicks in the playoffs. Nobody else, not even Justin Tucker, has a perfect playoff record over a sample size that's larger than just a few kicks. So Robbie Gould, if you're, the 49ers and you're trying to contend, you want to keep that kicking battery as strong as possible. Taybor Pepper's been doing a good job as the 49ers long snapper. You keep it that way. You don't want screw-ups there. A lot of people think this position is automatic. Well, I give you Kyle Nelson, who's a great long snapper for the 49ers for some time, really athletic too, so he could cover kicks. Got the yips in 2020. Couldn't get a snap right to save his life against the New York Giants in that game during that COVID year, right? And that's when the 49ers cut Kyle Nelson and brought in Taybor Pepper. Brought him in on a one-year deal at first, and they signed him to a 2-year extension, and now he's aboard for 3 more seasons. You'll see in the other video, I put Taybor Pepper's video in there. Maybe I play it at the end of this one just to give you guys a little bit of entertainment. He had a good return announcement for the 49ers. But $1.5 million, is it too much? Here's the thing. Guaranteed money doesn't hit the cap any worse than non-guaranteed money. The cap hit for the 49ers is going to be the same. But if you trust Taybor Pepper, which the 49ers do, the guaranteed money won't hurt you. It only hurts you if he gets the yips like Kyle Nelson did in his first season of this deal, and then you have to move on to somebody else, and then you have to eat that guaranteed money. It becomes dead money. But unless you get, you can knock on wood if you're a 49ers fan. But I'm saying unless he gets the yips in his first year, it's going to be okay. And I think it's an important position to get right. So let's look at the salary cap implications of this on my salary cap spreadsheet. If you want to take a look at the salary cap spreadsheet, I'm copying and I'm pasting it into the chat section right now. So Taybor Pepper, he's not in this sheet yet, but I want to illustrate how this impacts the 49ers roster building process. We're also going to add him to the roster sheet, but that's going to be in a little bit. Up here, you have the 49ers total salary cap space, $8.69 million. That is calculated through their cap size, through carryover credits, unused money from 2022. The 49ers have a cap size of $236.2 million. Total liabilities is how much money are the 49ers spending across everybody that's under contract right now and their dead money. Well, before Taybor Pepper is signed, they're spending $227.5 million. So the difference between those two is the space that the 49ers are working with. That's $8.69 million. So you scroll down here, long snapper, Taybor Pepper is now under contract. You guys can see me make the addition live. Boom. We don't know what his cap hit's going to be, but I'm guessing with $1.5 million fully guaranteed and a veteran minimum of about $1 million, they're going to spread out some of the signing bonus that comprises some of that guaranteed money over 3 years. Let's say that his cap hit is $1.3 million. Let's guess 1.3 this season. I'll amend it a little bit later on, and I'll put estimated as a note here in the right column to let everybody know that's not a final number, but we guess 1.3 million. And our calculator up here has now updated. The 49ers have gone from about $8.7 million in salary cap space to 7.4 million. So just like that, they've spent some money, but they needed to spend it because Taybor Pepper is playing at a very necessary position, and that is long snapper. So the 49ers have done one part of getting that kicking battery right. Next part, Robbie Gould. Robbie told us that he expects the 49ers to begin making more substantive decisions around the combine. Well, I'm leaving to the combine tomorrow. So start expecting some movement on the roster front for the 49ers. That includes movement on the Robbie Gould front as well. I'm going to open up a depth chart for everybody here, the 49ers 90-man depth chart, so we can add Taybor Pepper to it. And we can see the totality of the work that the 49ers have in front of them, especially as it relates to the salary cap situation. So here's the depth chart. You've got 47 players under contract, 48 technically, well, not technically, 48 if you do include Juwan Jennings, who isn't under contract but is an exclusive rights free agent. So we certainly expect him to be. So 47 going on 48. But Taybor Pepper is going to be number 48 for the 49ers. Long snapper right here. We put him in at the bottom. As you can see, they have Wishnowsky signed, an opening, a kicker, and there's Taybor Pepper. So 48 players, 49 if you include Juwan Jennings. Here are our unrestricted free agents on the list. We can erase, I'm scrolling down so you can see, erase Taybor Pepper. He is no longer an unrestricted free agent. And we can move everything up one slot as soon as I reset the colors here. And that list gets one shorter. The 49ers still have a lot of roster building work to do. As you can see on this depth chart, there is a lot of open white space. The 49ers eventually will fill this out to 90 players over the offseason. It's a 90-man roster. Expect a lot of movement here over the course of the next several days and the next several weeks, because the new league year starts on March 15th. It's currently February 25th. Down on the screen, I wrote what I'm going to talk about next. The 49ers salary cap situation is much better than you think. Why don't we put this back up on the screen? You can take a look at this page through the Google link that I put up in the chat section. I'll put it up in the description a little bit later. But the 49ers, again, they still have money, and people act like they don't have any, but they still have over $7 million, and that's going to be against the top 51 rule. In the offseason, only the 51 most expensive contracts count against the salary cap. So the 49ers with, what did I say, 48, 49 players, they only have a few more spots to fill before that top 51 rule starts taking effect. It's going to make it a lot cheaper to build the roster over the offseason. And they still, according to this sheet that I have going, calculating, they still have $7.39 million. Of course, if they want to sign a big ticket item in free agency, which I think they're going to try to do, maybe a defensive tackle, they might need a little bit more breathing room. If they do that, though, if they go that path and need a little bit more breathing room, there are recourses for the 49ers, and I can illustrate them for you right here. Take Christian McCaffrey, this spot right here, $12 million cap hit. You can lower Christian McCaffrey's cap hit to about $6 or $7 million very simply. So look what this would do. It'd be magic. Let's say that you lower it to $7 million. Okay, so I'm going to take the 12. I'm going to lower it to 7. Keep your eye on this number up here. See what happens to the available cap space. Boom. All of a sudden, you restructured Christian McCaffrey by turning his base salary into signing bonus, and all of a sudden, you got $12.4 million in cap room. You see how easy that is? You could do it with a few other players on the roster. McCaffrey is the easiest one through which to clear room. You could also backload contracts. You are not in cap hell, is my main point, like some teams in the NFL currently are. We've seen the Rams have it to cut Bobby Wagner to open up cap space. We saw the Tennessee Titans, $39 million over the cap, have to release a bunch of veterans the other day to start to approach cap compliance. The 49ers aren't in that position. They have money. They can open up more. And, there are a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about financially, that don't cover this closely because, I don't know, they're too lazy to cover it before. But if you actually do the numbers, which I have, and Over the Cap does a great job. Jason Hurley does a great job. Shout out to him. There's that website Spot Track too. They keep track of everything. If you actually do the legwork and look at the numbers, you will see that the 49ers do have signing capability. They have managed this fiscally in fiscally responsible fashion. Are there going to be misses? Is there going to be dead money? Of course. That's part of the deal of doing business, though. Anybody who complains about dead money to D Ford here, dead money there, probably has never run a business in their life. They probably don't understand that the cost of success is often risk, right? And they think that everything should go perfectly because they're sitting at home playing Madden where they turn salary cap rules off and there is no risk. Well, in real life, there is risk. The 49ers have rolled the dice several times. It's paid off more than not, and that's why they have a good roster right now. And that's the roster that I'm trying to break down for you on these sheets. So the cap situation is better than you might think. Even after giving Taybor Pepper $1.5 million in guaranteed money, the third most among long snappers. Let me download the Taybor Pepper video. Mike sent it to me. We'll play it here. Why not? This is a fun video. This is a good one to play. This is the kind of stuff that makes the internet tick. I think even Adam Schefter picked up this video today and tweeted it out, saying that this is how Taybor Pepper announced that he was going to be staying with the 49ers for 3 more years. All right, here we go. I think I got it. Got to go to downloads, and we do have it. This is it. Taybor Pepper. You guys ready? Enjoy.
The show goes on.
I'm going to understand. Tell them to bring me my money.
All right, that's good, right? Wolf of Wall Street, long stabber not leaving. Then he edits in a clip of himself going crazy on the sidelines when everybody in the investment firm was going crazy as well. Good little interplay there. We used that clip for Jimmy Garoppolo after he re-signed with the 49ers earlier in the 2022 season, right before week 1, actually. Not leaving. And, I don't think we're going to be playing it for Jimmy Garoppolo again, but I think Mike made a great thumbnail, and he's got that thumbnail ready on standby just in case Jimmy pulls another 180 and returns to the 49ers. But Taybor Pepper is returning to the 49ers, and that's a big deal because you got to get that kicking battery right. That's something that you want to pay for when there's quality. Robbie Gould has been quality. Taybor Pepper's been quality. Mitch Wishnowsky's been quality. They've now paid Wishnowsky and Pepper. We're going to wait on news for Robbie Gould, but that might be coming soon. Going to talk to John Lynch this week from the Combine and get a lot of that information. So it is going to be finally an eventful week on the news front because there hasn't been all too much happening lately. But I'm still bringing you content. So I'm going to answer questions too because that sometimes is the best content. How's everybody doing on this Saturday night? It was a nice video by Pepper, and I like the little emoji there to go with it. Okay, what are you guys saying here? Are you guys talking about the cap? You guys talking about Taybor Pepper? You guys talking about Robbie Gould? I want some good questions. Let's go. Looks like there's some arguing going on. So, come on. Pick it up with the questions. You guys need to give me something to talk about every once in a while. I talk so much without a prompt. It's nice to have a prompt every once in a while. Who to look forward to at the Combine? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Well, I'm most looking forward to the 49ers actually speaking. I want to hear from John Lynch about several of the transactions the 49ers plan to make, what their order of business is going to be this offseason ahead of the start of the new league year. But if there's one player that I'm really excited to see how he measures because he just pops off the film slightly more under the radar, and that's the guys that I'm looking at this year, especially since the 49ers don't have a pick until number 99 or number 100, Thomas Incoom. This is an edge rusher out of Central Michigan who didn't do much until his senior year. Then he exploded with 11 and a half sacks this past year. This guy's got long arms, and I don't know exactly how long. I don't know what his burst is going to measure to be, but on tape, his burst and his long arms show up. There are plays where he kind of just clotheslines the QB, even though his rushing angle is going to overshoot the QB, but the arm length allows him to get to the quarterback. You could see why he had 11 and a half sacks. I get it. It was against MAC competition at Central Michigan, but the 49ers know how to develop edge rushers. Chris Kasarik is maybe the master of that, right, at the D-line coach level in the league. And I think that this could be a good piece to kind of put into that pipeline opposite of Nick Bosa. So Thomas Incoom out of Central Michigan. Options to shore up the offensive line. Well, Caleb McGarry might be available from the Falcons, the right tackle. He could be a pass protecting improvement over Mike McGlinchey. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens at that right tackle position. How do the 49ers value Colton McKivitz, who pass protected better over a smaller sample size than McGlinchey last year, but I don't think is as good of a run blocker. I'm not meaning to crap on McGlinchey because I think McGlinchey played his best football the past 2 years, but he might have priced himself out of the 49ers market. It's just going to depend on where that market is for McGlinchey. But to improve the line, you have to remember that depth is paramount. You have to have depth in the NFL. You can have 5 all-pro starting offensive linemen, but that ship can crash in a hurry if your number 6 guy is weak because the 49ers and everybody else has to play a really long season. 49ers had to play 20 games in each of the past 2 seasons. You better have a 6 and you better have a 7 that's really capable. So they need to foster that depth. Guys like McKivitz are really important. Guys like, even Spencer Burford, who's going to be starting obviously this next year, but Burford along with Daniel Brunskill, they formed a 2-man tag team at that right guard position that allowed the 49ers to have the depth that they needed. But first off, you can't go backwards along the offensive line. You've got to make sure that somebody either replaces Jake Brendel or you re-sign Jake Brendel, who was really impressive in his first year starting. Then you got to figure out right tackle because even if McKivitz plugs in at right tackle, that means you've lost a depth piece because McKivitz was a quality depth piece, right? You have to make sure you view the offensive line in terms of 7 or 8 deep this offseason. And we'll see how free agency pans out, but Caleb McGarry from the Falcons, that's a player to look out for if the 49ers are going to flip-flop veterans, right? If they don't re-sign McGlinchey but want to go with another vet. Obviously, if you go to the rookie pool, I don't know if you have a guy who's a ready-made improvement because you're not picking until really late in the 3rd round. Who's going to be the next signing the 49ers do this offseason? Well, I think Juwan Jennings is going to come soon. Exclusive rights free agent doesn't have any room really to negotiate because he can only negotiate with the 49ers. So you can expect Jennings at some point. You could expect some other re-signings. I think that you got to bring back Daniel Brunskill. I really do because – you look at depth and what you need along this offensive line. Even if you re-sign Jake Brendel, Brunskill was his backup at center last year. If you don't re-sign Jake Brendel, Brunskill better be back because I don't know who the hell's playing center in that scenario. So maybe Jennings, maybe Daniel Brunskill, those may be the next signings for the 49ers before free agency starts because you can negotiate with your own players right now, but you can't negotiate with players on other teams until mid-March. Combine events. Which combine events should you pay most attention to? That's tough. I always think the 3-cone drill is something that Kyle Shanahan likes, especially for his wide receivers. But it's a crowded situation at receiver for the 49ers right now. So I don't think they're particularly looking for one of those. But for tight ends, why don't we look at some of these tight ends? Why don't we see what their short area quickness is? Because tight ends in the 49ers system have to line up in the slot a lot. And they have to run they have to run pass patterns that beat defensive backs. I still remember George Kittle cooking Budda Baker 2019 in Arizona. That showed us what George Kittle was all about. And that showed us what positionless skill position versatility in the 49ers is all about. Jason Verrett. I don't know what happens to Jason Verrett because I haven't heard from him in a little while. So, I just want to know how his rehab is going. That's all, it's going to be mental for Jason Verrett. I wouldn't blame him if he retired based on the punches that he's repeatedly taken from these major injuries. So let's wait and see how Jason Verrett is approaching this rehab. I don't have any concrete information for you. So that's not something that I'm ready to talk about with any, actual facts right now. I'm not one of these people just going to blow smoke on the internet for clicks. This is a really good question. Is Robbie Gould going to be franchise tagged? Because I don't know who else the 49ers would use the franchise tag on. Jimmy Ward, cornerback tag is way too expensive. You want him as a nickelback, so you're not going to put the safety tag on him if you're the 49ers. I don't even know which tag he'd be eligible for because he played nickel last year, not safety. McGlinchey, that tag is like $18 million. I think that's too much for the efficiency you've gotten out of McGlinchey. I don't think the 49ers want to use it at right tackle. They were in a similar situation in 2019 where they didn't have anybody to use the tag on except for the kicker. And the tag for the kicker is going to be about $6 million. Is that too much for Gold, who I think is about a $5 million player, 4.5 to 5 million? Yes. But if it means that you buy more time to negotiate with Robbie Gold, which is how the 49ers used the tag in 2019, maybe you use it. That's going to be a question that I asked John Lynch at the NFL Combine. So like and subscribe to the video. Dalton Schultz would be a nice addition for the 49ers. Everybody talks about that second tight end that they might be trying to pick up. That's all great. That's all fun and games. But there are other areas where I think the team needs to prioritize its investment. So you could get Dalton Schultz. You could get a good complimentary tight end at a good price, maybe through the draft in the mid rounds. Of course you do it. But I think that the bulk of resources, in my opinion, need to go to defensive tackle. I think that's what the 49ers need to get better. What compensatory pick do I think the 49ers will receive for Garoppolo? It depends on how big of a deal he signs elsewhere. I talked about it earlier today. I did a Jimmy Garoppolo video. If everything goes as expected, he gets the money that he's projected to get, which is going to be more than a lot of people think because the quarterback market has gone crazy. 4th round comp pick. But he can get, he can earn up to a 3rd round comp pick for the 49ers if he gets paid at the very top of this year's free agent market. Not, I'm not talking about the top. He doesn't have to pass Aaron Rodgers at $51 million per year. But if Jimmy Garoppolo gets nice coin, top dollar, we're talking maybe $25, $30 million a year. And, I don't know the comp formula by heart. It's way too complicated for me to understand. But I think if he gets somewhere in that range with his new deal, 49ers can get another one of those 3rd round comp picks in return. This guy thinks that water sucks. Water's really good, though. Any chance the 49ers keep Jimmy Garoppolo? I feel like without him, there's no chance of playoffs or the Super Bowl. And the team right now doesn't have time to wait on Trey or Brock. Well, that's not true. There's not no chance. I think Garoppolo might give you the best immediate chance, especially since Brock Purdy's elbow is ripped apart right now. But, I mean, they entered the 2022 season the same way. Garoppolo, better short-term option. Lance, better long-term option. A lot of belief in Trey Lance, develop him over the course of the year. I get it. The 49ers might be trying to have their cake and eat it too by getting cheaper at the quarterback position so the rest of the roster can be stronger. But at some point, you got to take that trust fall. And, I think they already decided to take that trust fall when they drafted Trey Lance. Did Brock Purdy give him a little bit more insulation? Yes. Did getting Jimmy Garoppolo back on a lucky deal last year for the team give them more insulation? Yes. Can that last forever? No, because Jimmy's going to be worth more to some other team, right? So, there is always a chance they can bring him back because the longer that Purdy's surgery is delayed and, the more the 49ers do think they need quarterback depth behind Trey Lance, the more they might be willing to pay for somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo. But right now, I don't think those two numbers are anywhere close. And that's the number the 49ers are willing to pay and the number that Jimmy Garoppolo is looking for and probably will get from another team. The only reason he didn't get it last year was because he was coming off of a shoulder surgery and wasn't able to throw. Anyway, thanks, Water Sucks. I disagree with you. At least I disagree with your name, but I appreciate your question. Appreciate what you sent over this way. That's awesome. That means I could get a beer or at least half of one since beers are really expensive these days. You don't, I don't think, need a vet to win a Super Bowl. You need a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo's a good quarterback. Brock Purdy showed to be a good quarterback this year. We'll see if he can sustain it. Obviously, the sample size is small. Trey Lance is a talented quarterback. He's not a good quarterback yet, but the 49ers believe in him. So, that's part of this deal. You've got to believe in guys. You've got to see if those guys can take you to where you want to go. That's why you invest in them. If they don't pan out, people get fired. Fans get mad. But right now, the 49ers still have a lot in front of them, and the track record has been really good over the past few years of developing these players. We'll see how Lance develops moving forward. Which rising second-year player makes the biggest impact on the field next year? Drake Jackson. I'm going to put it out there. I think Chris Kasarik has shown to be extremely adept at developing edge rushers. Drake Jackson has a lot of talent that pops off the screen. Talk about long arms, bend. A good attitude. I really think that Drake Jackson will come in stronger next year, and I think that he's going to make a big jump in his second season. The 49ers could really use that. What would really help Drake and Nick Bosa is if the 49ers go out there and pick up a stud defensive tackle. That would help all the defensive ends big time. Yeah, Dalvin Tomlinson could be a guy that really pushes the rest of the 49ers defensive line forward. I mean, they had a really good DT in DeForest Buckner. They had a really good one in DJ Jones. Neither of those two is around anymore. So you got to find a way to replace them. I get it. Javon Kinlaw was supposed to be that guy. Can you count on that? I don't think you can. Not with those knee issues right now. So I think that, Kinlaw, I still have him under contract for a year. Let him play his heart out, and maybe he delivers in his contract year. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't look elsewhere to add yet more talent. Because if you have a stud defensive tackle and Javon Kinlaw has a great year, all of a sudden you're talking 2019 vibes for the defensive line again. It's only up in that situation for the 49ers. All right. I am waiting for more comments. No troll comments. I see people complaining about a troll. I don't know who they're complaining about, but I want good questions here. It doesn't look like Tom Brady. Do you think the 49ers would take a chance on a QB franchise tag? Well, they can't this year. Jimmy Garoppolo's contract has no tag clause in it. So there's nobody to tag unless you want to tag Josh Johnson. I don't think you want to tag Josh Johnson this year. He's the only pending free agent. You like that? McCrary Ball re-signing, huh? $750,000. They got him on the cheap for this next year. Practice squad player last year. I mean, you're driving up to Indiana tomorrow. That's where McCrary Ball went to college. That's where's IU? Is it in Bloomington in Indiana? I think so. But yeah, anyway, that's where he went to school. More of a basketball school where Bob Knight coach. I'll be driving to Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. Yeah, trading Lance would be very expensive this year, cap hit wise. I can tell you exactly how much it would be. I just go to the 49ers salary cap report. Actually, I have it in one of my roster spreadsheets. The interactive spreadsheet's going to be coming out here in a few days. Be ready for that so you can build your own team. 49ers, if they cut Trey Lance, that'd be different than trading him here. They traded him right now, it'd be an $11 million dead cap hit. They traded him after June 1st, where you could defer some of that money to next year. It'd be a $5.5 million dead cap hit. Either way, expensive business to trade Trey Lance. That's how it works with these first-round picks. You give them a fully guaranteed contract by rule. Their contract is fully guaranteed. Lance was picked the number 3 overall, so was slotted really high up. The values of these contracts decrease as the draft goes along, but at the top of the draft, they're really expensive. So these guys better pan out. Otherwise, it's going to be a financial gut punch, right? The 49ers, though, they don't have a pick until late in the 3rd round this year, actually ends up being really cost efficient for them because they don't, that late 3rd round pick costs less than $1 million per year. Whereas Trey Lance obviously cost a ton of money per year relative to other draft picks being number 3. The 49ers draft this year, despite having 10 picks, is cost efficient. Only going to cost about $8 million total to sign. Less effectively once that top 51 rule takes place because you're going to displace the top 51 most expensive contracts with these players. You want to trade Kinlaw for a bottle of shampoo? Well, the problem is that I don't think anybody's going to want to trade for Kinlaw because they have to pay him the guaranteed money that he's owed as a first-round draft pick. If you do trade Kinlaw, I think it will be because you eat some of his salary. The 49ers willing to do that? Is a trade suitor potentially, are they willing to take on Javon Kinlaw even if the 49ers pay for part of his salary? Those are questions I don't know the answer to, but he's going to be a tough guy to trade away. Jake Haener met with the Raiders at Senior Bowl. Yeah, I think he might go in the, mid rounds, really. I think Paul Loeffler is the 49ers radio announcer. He had a good interview on 95.7 The Game the other day. So I hear, I haven't heard it yet. Talking about Jake Haener, his Bay Area ties. That's something I'm going to go listen to. If you want Paul to come on the show as a guest, let me know. We'll get Paul Loeffler in on here. Really, really good guy. Voice of the Bulldogs. Yeah, well, it's a good question. Can Kinlaw pass a physical in a potential trade? I mean, he was healthy enough to play late in the year. Didn't play well, especially as that knee, seemed to deteriorate. Seemed like he had 2 or 3 games in him, and he played well in the first couple in the regular season, and then ran out of gas, probably because that knee was leaking some oil there over the course of the playoffs. But I thought, if anything, I thought the 49ers might have activated Kinlaw too early last season, and that hurt them in the playoffs. Greg Gaines. Gaines is a big body. I don't know if he's going to fit in the 49ers scheme. Gaines, how much does that guy weigh? Greg Gaines, that was the wham block from Charlie Werner against the Rams on Monday Night Football this year. He's moving like 300. It's got Gaines listed like 320 here. But I mean, let me see the Rams roster. That was Wikipedia. I think he was a little bit lighter earlier. I'm seeing he's a big dude. Greg Gaines is a big dude. He's a big tackle type in the middle that Charlie Werner got on the wham block. I think the 49ers are going to be looking for more explosiveness on the inside. They want pass rushing capability. And we'll see. You've got to, if you want that combination of size and explosiveness, you've got to pay for it. They try to pay first round draft capital for it with Javon Kinlaw. Hasn't worked out, at least yet. We'll see. We'll give him one more year, see what happens. But there are going to be some good high-end defensive tackles on the market this offseason. And I think that the 49ers do spend. That might be a position where they want to bust out the checkbook. Landon wants DeForest Buckner back. Hit that like button. I love it. You know, I think a good edge rusher to complement Bosa on the other side. I'm talking Marcus Davenport coming off a bad year with the Saints, but I think that could be a good reclamation project from Chris Kasarik. Justin Houston, veteran, 34 years old. You know what you're going to get with somebody like him. The 49ers have already succeeded with a signing like that has been older, in fact, in Elvis Dumerville. So maybe Davenport, maybe Houston. Those are two players who I think you can get at a reasonable cost, because I really think the way they help edge, and, you know, Amenahu had a good pass rush win rate for the 49ers this year. He was top 20. He just didn't finish a lot of those sacks. But the way that you get more finishes and you help the edge rushers, and that includes Nick Bosa, is improve at defensive tackle. The biggest vacuum on this team this past year, the biggest black hole on this team last year, was the lack of an interior pass rush. They've got to get better on the interior. That's going to help out the edge rushers, whoever they sign on the edges. Arden Key, he might be a free agent. Signed a one-year deal with Jacksonville. And you know what? Arden was a good interior rusher for the 49ers. That's all Chris Kasarik, because Arden's light, right? Arden is, you know, this is a guy that's edge rushing with speed. He has finesse moves, but they move him inside, and that's something that not a lot of D-line coaches, I think, execute as efficiently as Chris Kasarik. He knows when to move Arden Key, a lighter rusher, inside. He knows when and how to devise the four-man, you know, symbiosis so that Arden Key is working against guards and centers when they're least ready for him. And he can use his quickness and his athleticism against the stockier guys on the inside, and he can blow by them. That's all huge stuff, right? So I think Arden Key had his best year with the 49ers, and that is no coincidence, because that's when he was working with Chris Kasarik. Joel says that the 49ers are going to trade their future first-round pick to move into the first round this year. That would be intriguing. They'd have to have a player they really like to do that. Well, the 49ers did get Kerry Hyder back, but Kerry Hyder came much cheaper than Arden Key. Hyder had a great year. The 49ers got paid by the Seahawks. Then he got cut by the Seahawks because they played him out of position. They played him on the inside more than edge rusher. So they didn't play him at the position that made him all the money. Hyder had to play on the inside of the 49ers because they were so depleted on the inside. They didn't have the interior pass rush. So he had another year where he didn't produce all that much. Hyder's done more on the edge. That was in 2020 with the 49ers than he has on the inside. So anyway, it wasn't hard to bring Hyder back after it didn't work out in Seattle playing on the inside. Arden Key, he still had 4.5 sacks last year. That's nothing to scoff at. So it might be a little pricier to get Arden Key back than it was Kerry Hyder. Smash that like button. He likes the idea of Arden Key coming back. Good crowd on here tonight. I'm liking this. Let's go back to the 49ers roster and the salary cap situation. Earlier in the show, I talked about this guy right here, Taybor Pepper. $1.5 million for Taybor Pepper, fully guaranteed. We don't know the exact cap hit yet, but I have him on the sheet here. I'm guessing the cap hit's going to be $1.3 million for this season. If it is, the 49ers have $7.4 million in space to sign a few more guys to fill out the first 51. They currently have 48 players under contract. So that is the salary cap update. I put up the long snapper contracts. Pepper ranks number 3 of long snappers. Pepper went from $220,000 to $1.5 million guaranteed. Third of all long snappers. Pepper hit the upgrade button, and Pepper also did a really good job announcing that he was going to be coming back with a cool video that I played a little bit earlier. Landon wants a ring for the 49ers. You know, I think they might. I think the 49ers might spend big money on a defensive tackle. It might not be Hargrave. It might be David Onyemata from the Saints. I predicted they'd sign Onyemata and Davenport, tackle and an edge rusher from the Saints. I think that's the position you've got to invest. We did a thing on The Athletic where we measured the stability of each position on the 49ers and ranked it against the rest of the league. The 49ers are like top 5 or at least top 10 across the whole board, every position group. They have the best roster in the league, right? But defensive tackle number 24. That's the one weakness on this team that I think you've got to address if you're the 49ers. Listen, the goal needs to be to beat Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to be able to realistically enter the season saying we can win a Super Bowl unless you're geared up to beat Patrick Mahomes, who's worlds better than everybody else in the NFL. The efficiency of the Chiefs is out of this world. To be a great like Patrick Mahomes, you have to have a strong 4-man rush. And then you have to play complementary football beyond that. The 49ers 4-man rush, in my opinion, wasn't strong enough to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year. I think they would have lost. I think they would have beaten the Eagles had Purdy stayed healthy. They would have lost to the Chiefs because the 4-man rush up front wasn't strong enough, in large part because of weaknesses at defensive tackle. So I think you got to spend money there. And if you take Hargrave away from the Eagles, even better. Because the Eagles get worse along the defensive line on the interior, which is so deadly. Hargrave makes that unit tick, and you get better. But I don't know if it's going to be a clean swap like that. Hargrave's going to cost a lot of money. He's 30 years old. So look out for guys like Onyemata. Look out for Dalvin Tomlinson. All of these players can make the 49ers markedly better. Their D-line clicked when it had Buckner, and even without Buckner, it clicked when they had DJ Jones. You've got to have a strong presence in the middle. There's a reason they drafted Kinlaw. You can't get stuck on the fact that Kinlaw's not working out and keep on hoping it does work out. You have to get somebody that's going to be that dominant presence to help Nick Bosa and company on the defensive line. Yeah, both Nick and Joey Bosa would be aggressive. Cap, though, going up maybe in a couple years. We'll see where both of those players are. What is the S2 cognition test? Well, Matt Barrows wrote about that in The Athletic. It's my colleague, who I'm very proud of, Matt Barrows. Let's find him here and put that article up on the screen. The S2 cognition test seems to be the next big thing in the NFL. There it is. It's Matt's article. I'm going to link it in the comment section. Was Brock Purdy's emergence predictable? S2 cognition test has pointed to NFL success. It's supposedly correlated. They're based here in Nashville. I'm in Nashville right now. They're based here in Nashville. They administer this S2 cognition test. It's like a reaction time stuff. Wonderlic would be more book studying. How good is this guy going to be with the playbook? This is the type of test that's going to measure, do you have what it takes from just the subconscious standpoint even to be an NFL quarterback. Purdy was somewhere in the 90th plus percentile. Lance was good too, but he scored a little bit lower. They haven't released the exact numbers, but this article gets into some of that stuff. So that's what the S2 cognition test is. You should definitely take a look at that article by Matt Barrows. That will answer all of your questions on The Athletic. What 49ers free agent would you not want to see signing within the division? That's a good question. I think you don't want to see Garoppolo signing with the division. You never want to see a quarterback that was playing with you sign with another team that plays you twice a year. That could be the difference between you making the playoffs or you losing a seeding. Quarterback is the most important position. No word on Gibson yet. Still waiting on Tashawn Gibson. We're going to get more clarity here at the NFL Combine. I got a lot of questions for John Lynch. We'll have all that content for you from Indianapolis as this week approaches. Jimmy Ward going to other teams. That'd be tough in the NFC West. Mahomes and Reed, deadly combo. Yes, sir. Yeah, the 49ers did struggle against the Chiefs, although they weren't at full strength defensively. I think if the 49ers had made it to the Super Bowl, they would have lost a close game to the Chiefs. I just don't think their defensive line was good enough to shut down a great like Mahomes, who was playing great. The Chiefs are so balanced against the Eagles. It would have been tough. It would have been tough. I think the Chiefs also, they're more opportunistic defensively than people give them credit for. 49ers were victims of that when they lost the Super Bowl in Miami. Kansas City was the best team in football this year. I don't think there was any question when the dust settled. You got to give them their credit. You have to give them their credit. And the only reason people don't want to give them their credit is because of the holding call. Well, it was holding. You can't argue that. It was holding. It was a dumb play. It was a really dumb play from the Eagles to grab a jersey in that situation. Don't punish the refs. Don't get mad at the refs. If you had money on the Eagles, I think you should be upset with James Bradbury for holding. The player who committed the penalty is the one that should be the scapegoat here, not the official who correctly called it. In that situation of the Super Bowl, the Eagles, the only thing they couldn't afford to do was penalize themselves because it was 3rd and long. They didn't have timeouts. If they penalize themselves, it's an automatic first down for Kansas City, and Kansas City can run out the clock and kick a field goal. Even if Bradbury gives up a touchdown on that play to Juju Smith-Schuster, the game is still on. The Eagles still have 2 minutes to rebut. Jalen Hurts is playing good football. The only thing you couldn't have was a holding penalty, and they committed it. So blame the idiotic play. Don't blame the official who did his job correctly in that football game. It's as simple as that. Chiefs won that game fair and square. There was no question about it. Talk about fake outrage about that holding call. That was ridiculous. Exactly. Eric knows what he's talking about. The time on the clock was more important. And, this is the thing, though. The pressure of the Super Bowl, you put a lot on a QB's shoulders when you're asking him to run a lot like Jalen Hurts. There's going to be a giveaway here and there. The 49, the Eagles might have been lucky that Josh Johnson couldn't hold on to the snap either. But the point I was making is if you're having Josh Johnson drop back X amount of times per game, something bad's going to happen because it's Josh Johnson dropping back against a good pass rush. He wasn't very confident in the pocket. He wasn't confident enough to hold on to that shotgun snap. It's obviously not the same situation as Jalen Hurts running, but shit happens in football. It's not going to be a game where everybody holds on to every snap and every handoff and every catch. You can't put on the cheat codes in real life. So the randomness of football is part of it, and that play was very damaging. Jalen Hurts played a great game. I get it, but Patrick Mahomes played a significantly better one because Mahomes didn't hurt his team with a turnover like that. Yeah, that was a heads-up play from McKinnon, and it turns out the Chiefs practiced that one once a week, so it paid off for him. Former 49er Jerick McKinnon. I don't know if you can count on DJ Jones-type production from Kalia Davis. It took DJ several years to get to the level that DJ was at by the time he left the 49ers. He's a good player. He's a $10 million player when he left for the Denver Broncos. Kalia Davis has not played an NFL snap. It's a big burden to put on his shoulders. I think you've got to insulate the room beyond even that. I wouldn't say that the Eagles defense was bad on all levels. I thought they had a really good D-line pass rushing wise. I didn't like their linebackers. And I thought, just like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, that their secondary was overrated and relied too much on the pass rush. But they obviously did a lot right to have, what do they have, like 78 sacks on the season? So I don't think you could say they were bad, but they were exposable. And I think the 49ers were set to expose them, and the Chiefs did expose them with a balanced attack, but the 49ers couldn't do it because they lost healthy quarterbacks in that game. I think Trey Lance has a lot of mental fortitude, but it takes more than mental fortitude to make that jump. But first off, Trey's not as fast as Jalen Hurts. Trey's going to be a different type of quarterback. He's not going to be as polished as Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts played several years of high-level FBS football. Trey Lance, still an FCS guy. It's a different kind of project for Trey Lance. So, I think Trey's ceiling is amazing, but I think it's going to take consistent mechanical improvement. I think mentally, I think he's really smart. I think that he's made of the right stuff, but that's not enough in the NFL. You have to have the perfect storm to make a star player. And the 49ers rolled the dice. We'll see if they can get there with Trey Lance. Boy, Brock Purdy getting healthy, getting that surgery, internal brace, that would be a nice insurance plan, that's for sure. But it's going to be the offseason of Trey Lance. You think the Ayuk was right? Expose, not expose, whatever. The Chiefs did, but they had Mahomes. It was also Mahomes on a hobbled ankle. The Chiefs exposed the Eagles because they exposed the run defense. That's what I talked about all week. Philadelphia's run defense was not good. And the 49ers, I think, were set to highlight that, but they couldn't. Because when you're just stacking the box, of course, your run defense is going to look good. Yeah, well, I think Trey, figuring out how to run in the NFL starts with learning how to pass in the NFL. You pick your spots to run. It can't be running all the time. And I think that Trey is not accurate enough, or he wasn't. Last time we saw him, wasn't accurate enough yet as a passer to just be dropping back all the time. So there was a lot of bailing the pocket. There were a lot of design runs. The best way to protect yourself in the NFL is to develop consistent mechanical rhythm and accuracy throwing the football. And the accuracy is going to go hand in hand with the rhythm. Yeah, I should get on the Your Mom podcast. We get Lisa McCaffrey to come on to this one. That would be fun. I don't think they would interview me on the Your Mom podcast, though. So if I get Margot on there, that'd be funny. I don't know what Lance scored on the S2 cognition, but I know that they said it was a good score. It just wasn't as high as Brock Purdy's. Yep, I said that all week. And it's for the 49ers, it was just unfortunate that they didn't have a chance to show that against the Eagles. But the Chiefs did. And I think it's funny, it's ironic even. It took an injury to Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs to really commit to the run game in the second half. But that's when that game turned around, when they committed to the run, because that was Philadelphia's weakness. Niners O-line couldn't keep their quarterbacks healthy. Casey's O-line did. Okay, so while I think this is an oversimplification, there is a lot of truth in the fact, especially that Kansas City had the best offensive line in football. They also had a terrible offensive line in the Super Bowl when they lost to the Buccaneers. So that shows you between point A and point B, Kansas City invested a lot in the O-line, and they turned from Super Bowl losers to Super Bowl winners. The 49ers did not have a good enough O-line when they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They didn't have a good enough O-line last year, but they have been investing in it. I think they still need to invest some more. I think that's very obvious. But it's not like they've just been sitting on their hands doing nothing as far as the offensive line goes. And also, in terms of the 49ers QB injuries, look at all of them individually. The Trey Lance injury this season was not the O-line's fault, right? That was a design run. Then you had Jimmy Garoppolo come in. Was that injury the O-line's fault? Was that a schematic issue? You had a kind of a zero blitz coming off one side, and the hot read wasn't there, and Jimmy Garoppolo tried to get away, and he was fighting for extra yardage. There's not like a single offensive lineman you could point to and blame that on. Brock Purdy, he got hurt by a player, Hassan Reddick, who was not being blocked by an offensive lineman. He was being blocked by Tyler Kroft. And let's get this very clear. There was not a schematic issue there. A lot of people want to blame Kyle Shanahan for putting a tight end onto a edge rusher. But teams do that all the time in play action. It's actually up to the quarterback to schematically be aware of the situation, step up in the pocket, realize he's got a mismatch over on the right side, and get that ball out. And Brandon Ayuk was open. So, it not the most popular thing to say, but Brock Purdy was late getting rid of that football. Croft didn't do a horrible job against Reddick either. He did redirect them slightly. Purdy will be the first to tell you that he needed to get rid of that ball a little bit quicker. And if Purdy gets rid of that ball quicker, all of a sudden people aren't saying, oh my gosh, the 49ers offensive line isn't blocking well on a play that didn't even involve an offensive lineman getting cleanly beaten. Now, I didn't think that there was great protection elsewhere on that play. Let's get this straight. I don't think that Banks was great on that play. I don't think that McGlinchey was great on that play, but they were good enough for if the quarterback had a quick release on that play, there was a good enough situation there for Brock Purdy to succeed. The play call, I think, was good enough. The blocking was adequate enough. Unfortunately, your QB was a rookie. Unfortunately, he got hit at just the wrong time. That's football. It happens. Nobody expected perfection from Brock Purdy. He got damn close to delivering it in a lot of those games this year. It's a big reason why the 49ers made it that far. Unfortunately, that one play, stuff slipped up. And that's football. One thing about that play, too, Hassan Reddick, he didn't gamble. He did gamble. He didn't bite on the play fake, and he gambled fully on the pass on that play. And I think that he did that because the Eagles led 7-0. The Eagles led 7-0 because Kyle Shanahan failed to challenge the Devontae Smith non-catch that became a catch on the earlier possession on 4th down. I think that game had a domino effect. I think the 49ers lost their quarterback ultimately because the Eagles gambled with a lead because the 49ers didn't challenge a play that they should have challenged. So if there's something you're going to get mad at, maybe it shouldn't be the offensive line. Maybe it shouldn't be Tyler Croft. Maybe it shouldn't be Shanahan's play calling. Maybe it should be the fact that Shanahan and the 49ers staff did drop the ball on a challenge or non-challenge attempt, or at least a timeout they should have called on the earlier drive. Yeah, the replay booth would have been good for that one, but they were not utilized. That's for sure. Would have been a game changer. The 49ers will have a first-round pick next year, but not this year. And yeah, Purdy should have definitely stepped into the pocket on that play. That was one of the things I talked about a lot regarding Brock Purdy. I mean, we can go to some of my articles here on The Athletic. I wrote a ton, obviously, on Purdy, especially heading into the NFC Championship game. I had that big feature. Man, I've written a lot of articles. I have to scroll down far on this. And one of the main points of this big article right here, how Brock Purdy is mastering the point guard role in the 49ers offense, there was one thing that, Purdy really struggled with, and that was stepping up in the pocket. This was before he got hurt. I'm writing this before Brock Purdy got hurt. I'm talking about the need, and the 49ers were talking about it. Purdy was talking about it, the need for him to better step up in the pocket. Don't try to bail all the time. Don't try to hold on to the ball. You have to step up and buy time within the chaos. Why didn't he do it? Well, maybe it's because he's shorter than the average quarterback. It's harder to see when you step up in the pocket. But it was definitely a weakness. And it ended up, being a factor in his injury. The next step of Brock Purdy's development, and let's not take anything away from his excellent stretch of play this year, but the next step in his development will be becoming better at stepping up in the pocket. And there might be limitations to that, just like Russell Wilson has faced limitations to that because he's not the tallest quarterback either, right? I think Purdy's a little bit taller than Russell Wilson, but still the point stands. You have to be able to deliver from the pocket to consistently succeed at the NFL level, unless you're going to be scrambling all over the place. Wilson did it for a long time, right? But I think Brock Purdy, he's got the good burst. I think he still is going to have to be a guy that primarily lives from the pocket. Tommy Adams still wants to let Russ cook. Funny. What are the Rams rank going into the 2023 season? Not good. I mean, the Rams are in a fire sale right now. They get rid of Bobby Wagner. Don't have the cap space really to. I mean, they're paying for going all in a couple years ago. That's where the Rams are at right now. That roster is leaking some oil. Jalen Ramsey might be the next to go. Yeah, well, the Bay Area is superior to LA. I think that's clear on a lot of fronts. Both have their issues, but the Bay Area is just a lot more livable. Better food, too, in the Bay Area. Better quality of life. Less traffic jams on the freeways. You could actually get around on some form of public transportation. You know what LA has on the Bay Area, though? SoFi Stadium. That place is spectacular. That place is awesome. What if Shaq played football instead of basketball? He'd be an amazing offensive tackle at that size. I think that's what you'd have to do. Make him eligible, too, to run out for some pass patterns. He was insanely athletic, though, back in his prime. What was he, 7'1", 7'2"? Eric Gomes. I'm hearing McVay is looking for the escape parachute. That's kind of funny. Rams are going to be the new Texans, huh? It's kind of funny, too. All right, guys, good stuff. Maybe we pull this a couple more minutes to get it to an hour, but an hour seems like a good size show. Nobody else doing shows talking about stuff right now and the level of detail that we've been talking about. It is 11:20 p.m. Shaq would be insane in the red zone. Yes, it'd be crazy. Marcus Mariota after he gets cut as the veteran option, maybe. We'll see. I mean, there's still so much to be determined. I think even the 49ers probably have plans A through F. They don't know which one they're going to go to. It's just going to depend on negotiation, salary cap fit. A lot of variables are going to go into this, which is why it's cool to be able to cover this in real time. I could sit here and react to news as it happens because it's going to be a fluid situation. Three more minutes, and we make it to an hour. That's what I'm going to try to do. And I leave to the combine tomorrow. Nigel hopes that Jimmy Ward doesn't go to the Rams. That'd be kind of funny, though, because Jimmy was talking some crap about the Rams in training camp entering this year, saying they didn't shake hands or something. Or they only shook hands after they beat the 49ers in the championship game. They didn't shake hands before them. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Winston and Wentz will both be cut. Both would scare me from the 49ers. You kind of want to back up with a stable floor, and somebody like Carson Wentz does not scream stable floor to me. Did I make a video of which positions players the 49ers should draft? I mean, I made a couple, and I'm going to make more. I make a lot of videos. I make a lot of articles. I did this here. To answer your question, this is an article that might interest you. This is the 49ers NFL Draft Big Board. 30 prospects for the 49ers to consider, including Jake Haener, who's a Brock Purdy-like quarterback. So you could look through this big board, and there's the picture of Haener from Fresno State. But I think that might be something that appeals to you if you want names and you want to start getting ready for the NFL Draft ahead of the NFL Combine, which is going to be next week. But yeah, this article is good. Let me copy and paste it and put it into the comment section or the chat section as we speak, so you can go ahead and check it out. It is in there right now. I occasionally have guests on my shows, yeah, and we'll get some on this off season. I've been chilling a little bit here in February. People have wanted to just lay low a little bit, and I just wanted to continue creating the content. Stuff is going to pick up. We're going to have more to actually tangibly talk about now, starting with the NFL Combine. At that point, I'll start bringing on some of the guests. If you have any requests, let me know. You could tweet at people telling them to come onto my show. That would be probably the best way to do it. Get on the internet, tweet at people, say, hey, you got to come on David Lombardi's YouTube channel. Come on his show. and maybe we can get more people on that way. I haven't really been scouring guests here though over the last few weeks. Just been recovering from the season. People talking about Jalen Ramsey. You know, Jalen Ramsey actually went to high school with my fiance Margot, Brentwood Academy here in the Nashville area. Fun fact. And then he went to Florida State. Then he went to Jacksonville. Then he went to the Rams. Who knows what's next if he switches teams this offseason. Kittle's been on the show before. And yeah, maybe we get him back this offseason from Tight End U. Yeah, should get Pat McAfee on this show. Would be a lot of fun. Little reverse action, because I've been on Pat's show obviously a few times already. Yeah, we got to get out to the Kittle estate, do a video from there this off season. All right, we've been on for an hour. It's good. Why don't everybody subscribe to the channel? Subscribe to The Athletic. Check out this article on Jake Haener, 30 49ers draft prospects. 49ers in the franchise tag window right now. We talked about Taybor Pepper, $1.5 million fully guaranteed, number 3 of all long snappers. 49ers still in a good salary cap position. Those of you who missed it earlier, I talked about the salary cap right here. We put, in live real time, we put Taybor Pepper onto the sheet down there. Estimated cap hit $1.3 million, 7.4 in space for the 49ers right now as they build the roster. 48 players under contract. So sub to The Athletic, sub to the channel. I'm going to be headed to the Combine tomorrow. I will document my road trip from Nashville, stop in Louisville. Got to say it right. Louisville, stop there. There's the museum, the Louisville Slugger Museum, right? The bats. That'll be good. Do all that good stuff, and let's enjoy. Have a good rest of your weekend. And I hope that you enjoy the fact that I kept content flowing during the dead period. Officially, I think I'm going to be at the Combine tomorrow. Maybe it won't be as exciting tomorrow because people will still be trickling in. But the dead period is about to end. So I did my best, kept the content flowing, and it's about to get really, really exciting. So hit that sub button because, as you know, this channel is lit once stuff is actually rolling in. We'll be reacting and breaking all the news as it comes through. Everybody take care. Thanks for watching. Have a good Saturday night.